Hey everyone, it's Billy Hell, and I'm going to tell a story about OJ Simpson way back in the day. I'm grinning because I haven't gone live in forever, and I don't know exactly what I'm about to say, except I'm going to just retell my memories of working with OJ. I went upstairs to get some coffee, and the wife said, "Will you help me make the bed up?" And did you hear that OJ died today? And I had not heard that. So I thought I would tell the story. I'm starting to tell these stories just to have them on video, and also for like one day when my kids are like, I'd like to hear my dad tell a story. They'll have them, and then they'll be like, "What are you talking about? You worked with OJ Simpson." I'll quit drinking coffee now. Okay. Um, I went to Baylor University and I bailed out of there about 1989. I took $1,000 and drove to Hollywood, California to be in the music business. I did study film at Baylor, and it was the only thing I was really good at there. Business school, not so good. In fact, anyway, I won't go into that. Maybe later. I took $1,000 and got in my 1984 Mercury Capri and drove to Hollywood. And I will not, there's like 8,000 stories that go along with this, from almost being killed. I may tell that one at the end because it happened at about the same time. So I did fall into a crew, and the lead man was from Texas, and I was from Texas. And I'm pretty sure that I got invited to a party. I think that's where I met this guy, at a party. Real nice guy, very Texas. If you're from anywhere, a small town Texas, this would be the kind of guy you would expect to meet. Stand up, good for his word, like to drink beer, and like country music. So we have everything in common. And he said, "Hey, I've got a show that I'm working on. Would you like a job?" And I was desperate to work for a job. When I first got to Hollywood, I was cleaning carpets to pay my $400 a month rent. And so anything in the industry was good. I was PAing on movies for nothing. I was selling my daughter Armand Asante and dag nabbit, Angelique Jolie's dad. Oh, that's terrible that I remember her and not him. But anyway, I did all that stuff as a kid. And so I got on the show First and 10 with HBO. First and 10 was one of the very first HBO shows to kind of attempt to bring an audience away from ABC and NBC. And I've got a list of the people that were in the show. Delta Burke was the big star. I don't see any more Shannon Tweed, but OJ played TD Parker in this. And so I worked with the transpo department, is what they call us. I learned a lot about how to do this. I would back people in. I would tell them to stop. I would slowly back them in. We had all kinds of hand signals. And I grew up, my dad was a truck dealer. My brother is now a truck dealer in Sherman, Texas. And so I grew up around trucks, and I loved vehicles, and transportation department was a great place to go. Plus, the pay was really good. And the crew and I were buddies, and we hung out together. So it was awesome. But OJ, we'll get right to the point here. Yes, I was starstruck. I could not believe, because for me, OJ Simpson was a football star, but he was also the guy in those, was it Hertz, where he would run through the airport and jump over chairs to make his plane? That was OJ Simpson. And so he was like crazy famous. And now he was on First and 10. And now, if you worked on this show and your memory is slightly different from mine, I really thought about this before I came downstairs to make sure I was telling the absolute truth here and not remembering it a certain way. But I can see it in my head. We shot a lot at this, I think it was a high school, but it had a full football field and all these outbuildings. And that's where they shot a lot of the exteriors for this football TV show. And when OJ would show up, it was usually, I believe, like noonish or maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, around there. And he would always show up, but he didn't have just one. He had multiple high-end cars. These were not Mercedes. These were like Rolls Royces and things like that. Like the most expensive car. Sidebar, I'm going to stop here. I was in one of the major studios in a 5-ton truck, and I was picking something up to take it to, once again, I have no idea how this is going to play out through my words, but I'm just free flowing here. But I was in this big truck picking something up for a movie, and I was loaded. And if you've ever been to a backlot on a studio, between the stages, it's one lane. And so you have to be not only a good driver, but You have to be smart because you have to get to where you're going and make sure that your big 5-ton truck can make it through this one lane. So I pull up, I'm coming. I'm like way into the bowels of the studio and or the back lot. And there were 2 Rolls Royces parked, not in the middle of the 1-lane road, but to the side. But I most definitely couldn't get around them. So I'm mad. I'm 25 or something, 24 years old. And I find a PA and I said, could you get whoever owns these cars to move them? And I sit in my truck and the guy comes back out and he says, this one belongs to OJ Simpson. They were shooting Airplane 2 or 3 or 4 or something, the movie. So the first J's, but the second one, man, what's that guy's name who says, boy, I really should know this. He says, do you know about Roman gladiators, Johnny? That guy, white hair, terrible. I've known this guy's name for years. Anyway, someone almost as famous as OJ. So he comes out and he says, I spoke to OJ, and if he said the other guy wasn't going to move his Rolls Royce, why would he move his Rolls Royce? So no one's moving any Rolls Royces. And I'll Google that real quick. Airplane. And then I'll say the name for you. But that meant that I had to back the 5-ton on a 1-lane with buildings on both sides. It'd be like cliffs on both sides. Had to back it out of the stage area, which took forever because if I crashed, I would probably lose my job. So stars. Leslie Nielsen. That was the other guy. Yes. So it was Leslie Nielsen and OJ's. So anyway, we're back to the First and 10 set. He would show up and I would be the guy who got in his car and would take it from him and drive it to this lot where we would keep the stars' cars or the actors' cars, in his case, star. And then I would do other transportation things. And that leads me to another story. I was same set, same crew. I think so. This is when I almost got killed. But instead, the other guy got killed. And this is true. These are real stories. It is violent and terrible, but it happened. So historically, why shouldn't I tell it? We're like not in a bad part of town. I have shot movies where it was like a great place to be killed. Like okay, it's a whole nother story where a guy got knifed on the set because he was in a tuxedo. And I said, it was like a homecoming scene and everyone was in tuxedos for this high school homecoming. And he said, I've got to use the payphone out there. And I said, don't go out of the fence. Do not go to the payphone. It's 3 a.m. And I told him, I said, don't do it. And that's the last thing I heard from him until the next day where somebody said he got stabbed. He's in a tuxedo. He walks out to the street in the bowels of LA using the payphone. And some folks came by and I don't know who it was. So I can't reference who stabbed him, but they thought this guy's got a tuxedo. Surely he's got a lot of money. Let's stab this guy. And they did. He luckily had a big belly and they said that his belly fat kept him from being killed. So nice. Don't use payphones when you're dressed up in places you ought not be. What the heck's my point here? Holy smokes. Anyway, so same set, same crew, different location, nice location. It was outside of a big mall. It was very nice. And we were once again in a fenced in area with the transportation department. So that means that there's trucks behind me. There's wagons, star wagons for stars to go into and relax. And there was a food truck. And it came for us to eat. And that's how it worked on a movie set. Food truck comes in and you eat. And I have a beautiful breakfast. We're getting to the end of OJ. Just one second. Beautiful taco that I got off the food truck. And a guy walks in off the street. He has no shirt. He's about 4 feet tall and covered in tattoos. Now, I didn't know these were prison tattoos because I wasn't around long enough to know such a thing. But this guy walked right up to me. And he looked like he was really mad. And I thought, I didn't know what. So he walks right up to me and he starts speaking a foreign language, which I don't understand. And he gets more intense. And then I'm like, do you want my breakfast taco? So I offer him. Had bacon in it and it had peppers. It was awesome, but it hadn't been eaten yet. It was fresh. And I'm like, are you hungry? Because I thought maybe it was a homeless guy. Then he got really mad, and I thought, this guy is going to hit me. So now I'm getting ready to be in a street fight with a guy I don't even know, and I don't even know what he's saying to me. And I won't point behind me just yet. His face changes, and he becomes very serious, and he's not mad anymore. And his eyes change, and he starts walking backwards, and he's looking right at me, and I was like, I must have really turned on the mean, to scare this guy out of being mad straight into scared and like walking backwards. And he leaves the area. And I turn around, and all the Teamsters were behind me. They had seen this guy in the scene, and they had just all walked up behind me in a line, and they scared the crap out of this guy. Here's the terrible ending to this guy. This is unbelievable. I've run this story through my head a few times. It is just hard to believe, but it happened. About 5 minutes later, my guy that hired me said, hey, will you take these 2 5-gallon cans of gas? And there was a gas station just a half a block away from where this little area was. And he said, can you walk up here and get some gas in these cans? Sure. So I walk up there, and right before I get to the gas station where you drive in, I hear, get down, yelled at me. And I look across the way, and there are 2 cops, police car, just like in a movie, and they've got their guns out over the roof of the car, and they're yelling at me to get down, get down. I hit the ground. I look in the gas station, and guess who is in the gas station? My guy with no shirt, full of tattoos, and he's got a gun to the head of the guy at the gas station by a pump. I was getting robbed, y'all. That guy, I didn't know what he was saying. He was robbing me. I just happened not to know Spanish or whatever language it was, who knows. And I thought, holy cow, that dude was robbing me. And I just didn't know it. I'm lucky. And he had a gun too, by the way. And the end of that story is they shot him because he wouldn't put the gun down. So they shot him. That's the end of that story. Let's go back to OJ. LA, what a place, eh? Somebody just told my daughter she should move to LA. And I'm like, that is a terrible, terrible suggestion. At least it was in the 90s when things were rolling and rocking. At the end of the day, OJ would come back. He would do whatever they do on the set. I was in transportation, so I rarely saw anything happening on set. That would come later when I changed my roles in the world of Hollywood. But when he came back, I would get a radio. Hey, OJ's headed your way. I would go back to the lot, get his car, pull it up. Now, what the heck? Hold on. I got another fact I got to check on. I'm not a football guy. So what was the LA team, the football team back then? It wasn't the Rams. Who was it? You can tell me in the comments below, but the current football team in LA at the time, the pro team, they are cheerleaders for the show were real cheerleaders from the pro football team. And I'm not saying OJ went home with a different cheerleader every time he came to set, but if he didn't, he almost did. So he would come in by himself, but on his way out, there was one of those Raiderettes, the Raiders. That was it. Dang. And so he would get a Raiderette, and I would open the door, and the Raiderette would get on one side, and I'd pulled the car up, and OJ would get in the other. And my point at the end here is OJ was really nice to me, always cool. Never, they're actors and they're famous, and you must expect them to not be cool. They are going to blow your image of what you think they might be almost all the time. And so the unique thing about OJ was that he was always a real nice guy. I was also around when they did the car chase and chased him live on TV. If you weren't alive then, it was pretty spectacular because this car chase lasted forever. And it was live, and you could just sit there and watch the LAPD slowly chasing OJ and his buddy, whose name also, God, time, it'll get you. But I was like, there's no way OJ killed somebody. Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I'm sure. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. My whole thing was that I worked with OJ on a daily basis. He was always really nice to me. It's sad that his life took a left turn there at the end, and all that. But up until that point, when I met him, he was doing really well. So this is my memory of OJ Simpson. And That's it. I'm Billy Hale. I have other stories down here. I think they're under the story section. And I have a pretty good story where I worked with Mark Hamill from Star Wars. And it was one trailer. It was Mark Hamill, and it was it was Shirley from Laverne and Shirley. And then it was Punch from Chips. And they were all in one wagon. And I have multiple stories about these people. One that I never told because I knew I'd be fired if I ever told the story, but I told it recently on there, so you can check it out. Okay. How long is this? 15 minutes? Probably about 10 minutes too long here. I'm Billy Hale. Hit subscribe and like and all that stuff. If you like the story, let me know. I have like 9,000 stories. And the problem is the longer time goes on, the less details I remember. So I need to just get them out. Bye. Oh, this was live. I forgot about that. If you're watching live, thanks. Billy Hale.